Back on the Highline here. I don't like to let this 3 p.m. Sunday time slot go by without doing a show. People who are longtime Crowdsource the Truth viewers know that normally Sundays at 3, for the past 7 years or so, Charles Ortel joins me for Sunday with Charles. Charles has moved overseas. He's left the wreck that Joe Biden and Eric Adams and other Democrats have left here in New York City. And so he's international now, and the show is at 8 p.m. That'll be happening tonight. Don't miss that. We're going to have a special segment in the First Amendment Forum for sponsors. Thank you to everybody who sponsors the show. People are going to recall the last time I came up here, there was a cadre of idiots riding bicycles. This is a very specialized park here, narrow walkway. No bicycles are allowed in any park in New York City, certainly not on the Highline. And I was wondering, is it possible that when I came up here last time, social engineers said, get somebody on a bike to come in there? I don't know. People say, you're paranoid, Jason. But we'll see. It's a beautiful day. Dog days of summer. Actually, wait, that reminds me. Something very good happened with dogs. Somebody sent me, here it is. I put it on Twitter. If you're not following, on X. If you aren't following on X, you can follow at JG_CSTT. A lot of stuff going on in X. But anyway, somebody sent me this picture of their dogs. Look at this one's like posing for a selfie. But this woman sent me a picture of her dogs watching Crowdsource the Truth. Follow at JG_CSTT if you're not already following on X. So some people say, you're paranoid. That was just a coincidence. It's possible. That is possible. That's why I'm always saying these are my opinions. I'm making commentary on various just things that I observe in the public domain, evidence, events, just observations. You might look at this same evidence, these same facts, you might draw a different conclusion than I have. You're free to do that. Some people enjoy listening to me talk about this stuff, sit there with their dogs, and just have a nice weekend looking at what's going on around in New York City. Frankly, there's a lot of people who don't care if what I say is correct or incorrect. And frankly, contrary to what that dunce who thinks he's running for vice president, Tim Walz, contrary to what he thinks, you do have a First Amendment right to speak your opinion, even if it's incorrect, even if it's contrary to popularly held ideas and stuff that Tim Walz or other people disagree with. So I bring up these social engineers so frequently because it's really become an extremely important part of everything that we have to evaluate if you're interested. Balloons. So a good close second to the bubbles. Always fun. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that might be one of the best balloon characters I've ever seen. Balloon Spider-Man. Whoa, very good. Did you invent that balloon Spider-Man?
No, I wish I did.
You saw somebody else did it? But it's really good.
Some of the stuff I invented. I kind of invented it.
Do you have an Instagram or something for people to get balloon animals from?
Oh, my Instagram is Balloonaddots. BALLOONADOTS.
Are you Dot?
Well, yeah, I'm Balloonaddots.
All right, anyway, take care. Nice balloons. I like the Spider-Man balloon animal. I'm a little bit of a child in that way. But that's cool. Come to the Highline, get a Spider-Man balloon character. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about codifying terminology, this type of tradecraft stuff, That's the other thing, is that normally for the past several months on Sundays. It was in the evening, but now that Charles is international, we've sort of shifted. There's normally a show with John Cullen on Sunday, but everybody knows John was away for a while doing a video shoot, experimenting with different kinds of ammunition. And so he still needs some time to get that footage together and to recuperate from all the travel and all the, you know, I don't even exactly know where he went, what he did, what he's got in terms of footage. But I do want to say something that I didn't want to say before he went, because I didn't want to discourage him from doing this test. I'm not ever trying to tell anybody what to do. And if I ever say that, or something that sounds like that, it's a mistake. I'm making a mistake. I don't ever want to tell anybody what to do about anything. I hate being told what to do. There's somebody, Esther's Nitwit, or whatever the person's name is, who came into the chat on the show and said, Jim got blocked and insulted. Don't come onto my show and tell me what to do. If you want to listen to John speak, go look at John's videos on his YouTube channel. But don't tell me what to do. I don't go and tell other people what to do. I'm sharing my insights. If you find them interesting, you can sponsor the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, or any of the various other ways that the show can be sponsored. But people were finding it helpful, you know, the feedback I'm getting on X and other places. Did I just lose the broadcast? It's interesting when it happens in places that it doesn't normally. Whoa, what's this? Something new on the Highline. Somebody says yes. Did we lose the live? Let's see if we get this banana. This is Teresa Solar Abad, Birth of Islands. Banana looking art. I think I might have lost the broadcast here. Let's see if it resumes. A lot of buffer. Yeah, right. Well, I don't care who that person is. She's not coming on the show and telling me when to speak or not to speak. I think we might have lost the broadcast. I hate that. Did it lose?
As you said, who cares?
Did it resume on another? I don't know. Oh, damn it. Maybe it can come back now. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe too many people on the Highline using phones. Could be. As simple as that. But I've got full broadcast signal. Is there someone using an IMSI catcher? Up, there it is, the banana. So maybe I've recaptured the signal. Yeah, okay, sorry about the buffering, everybody. There's a series of steps that I can go through that sometimes work to recover the broadcast. It's a rough deal out here being a live streamer in the, you know, electromagnetic interference jungle that is New York City. Let's thank the friendliness of internet coming back by stopping to look at the butterfly milkweed. I've said many times we can learn things about plants by coming here, maybe. Yes, Fletch, still here. Seems to be a successful recovery. And thanks to everybody who watches on Odyssey. It helps a lot, you know. I've been thinking about, yesterday we did a show about a bunch of things I've been learning about Linda Yaccarino's father. And I wouldn't normally look into that sort of thing, except that Linda Yaccarino had posted back in March of this year that unfortunately her father had passed, and mentioned that he was the chief of police of Nassau County Police. I didn't know that. I did not know that. But I found out a lot of interesting things about the Nassau County Police. Actually, my childhood was in Nassau County through high school. Born in the Bronx, of course. I've mentioned that before. But the point is, Nassau County Police, it's the 11th largest police department in the entire United States. It's bigger than the Detroit PD. It's a pretty substantial force. And guess what? Nassau County is in the Eastern District of New York. It's covered by the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Eastern District, where Valerie Caproni was the head of the Organized Crime Division. Do you think that the chief of police would have interacted with the U.S. Attorney's Office? I think so. ChatGPT thinks so. I was going to publish a big ChatGPT conversation I had, but I'm burying my own lead here. We got to talk about this evidence kill because I'm beginning to realize that a lot of people maybe weren't fully understanding. Here, look, some of this construction is done. Oh yeah, look, we got new benches. So people weren't fully understanding what I was getting at. Oh wow, look at this. We've got a whole new big area here. This is great. Right in time for summer to end. Well, all right, next year this will be cool. That's a new kind of thing, a net. I guess they don't want people jumping off the edge. That's bigger. They're gonna put dirt in there and have more. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, we got a little preview of future Highline action here. Should be good. Yeah, I guess this will be more plants and trees there. Great. See, always improving. That's nice. That type of thing is a good use, I would say, of tax money. Get people coming here, even from just local places, go to lunch somewhere, walk on the Highline. That makes sense. But this evidence kill, what is that? I was realizing that it seems like people aren't really getting how important this dot in the window is. And see, one of the unfortunate things, in my view, and this is my opinion, John might disagree, other people might disagree. John got very dug in on the muzzle flash idea early, and all of these social engineers, they came at him to disprove it. It's almost like that Unsteady Dave video was bait. I warned him I didn't want to make any conclusions from that thing, and particularly because of the way Unsteady Dave was behaving. And by behaving, I mean the fact that he wasn't willing to say that he would give the original camera file. I considered him to be not cooperative, because if somebody right away is saying, he's hemming and hawing about the original file, I just was not convinced that he was ever going to be cooperative enough or available enough when the time came to have to authenticate that evidence in court or for Congress or something. It just didn't seem like that wasn't evidence to me. The second he failed to cooperate, I just put it out of my mind as something that we could even rely on and started looking for better evidence. That's the thing. I don't claim to be a better gun expert than Gary. I don't claim to know more about muzzle flashes than John. I was just being super duper cautious with evidence that I really, really felt was coming at us from social engineers who probably had a plan that now that we're 2 weeks on, I think we're seeing this plan sort of start to express itself. It's been allowed to kind of fester and grow. And I'm talking about a few things. We discussed one of them on the show with John on Friday last night. People can still see that on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. See, here's a tour, but it doesn't involve bicycles. You can't have bicycles. But what John was talking about was this conclusion by maybe Gray Hughes or Mr., I think his name is Ostroff. Somebody has decided that there's this 12-second discrepancy between the body camera. He says that it's 12 seconds out of sync, is what he says. But what is unclear to me is out of sync with what? Now, John kind of got upset last night because he was stuck on his conclusion that the guy says it's 12 seconds out of sync with other body cameras. Well, please tell me where he said that, because I didn't see that. Maybe that's right. I don't think so, though. And that doesn't make sense. I agree with what John was saying about that. How could it be out of sync? I would think a key part of any kind of police body camera system where you've got BWC, body worn camera 2-122110, and other sequential numbers, you would think that a particular police department that has a particular network of body cameras, that they would be linked by some, you'd think wireless internet and all have the same time. The police aren't making fun videos to upload to TikTok. That's supposed to be evidence. And I imagine they want concurrent time on the officers' body cameras. But then again, that's a supposition on my part. It is possible, as stupid as it might sound, I've heard of stupider things. It is possible that each independent police body camera has its time set by some method that doesn't constantly synchronize them all. And it is possible that there could be a body camera that is out of sync with another body camera, but that seems less likely. And without a clear statement from the person making the claim, my first presumption would be that he's saying it's out of sync with the SMPTE time of day time code. Now, I agree with that, but not by 12 seconds. By my synchronization methods, I believe it's around 2 seconds, 1.5 to 2 seconds out of sync. So I'm not sure. Somebody told me he synchronized it based on the screen that Trump was pointing at, but where is the moment? Maybe I missed that. Maybe he did. Maybe his synchronization is better than mine. But there's some vagary here. And then other people have been sending me other things from their synced up patchworks. And I'm not saying that only things that I do in GigaSync are validly synchronized. I'm again just trying to codify this to make a standard way of looking at it. And part of that is by leaving the time code numbers on and putting my stamp on there. Leaving everything in there that I can. There are individual frames where maybe parts of time codes go out of frame due to stabilization, but you can go back to previous frames and see the time code and extrapolate what frame you're looking at. My point is, I'm not trying to isolate evidence and show people small pieces of confusing things. I'm trying to disambiguate this menagerie of, I don't like even calling it evidence. It's a random assessment, or I should say a random assortment of photographs and videos, largely from unknown sources, that people are treating like evidence and investigating for weeks and going on road trips to try to prove that muzzle flash can exist on a 30 frame per second video recording for more than one frame. And I'm not trying to disparage John, but I'm ready to sort of issue my pre-buttal of any conclusions his test might come to. And I haven't seen a single frame of his footage. Part of the reason we're not doing a show together today is that he's working with that footage. And I didn't want to say anything like this before he went on his trip, because I did not want to discourage him from doing this test, if that's what he wanted to do. Because like I said, I'm not in the business of telling people what to do. And by the way, for people who are new viewers that just started watching around the assassination attempt time, I want to clarify, I don't work for John. John doesn't work for me. John doesn't work for Crowdsource the Truth. This is, we're just two friends and associates who collaborate on making videos and frequently agree, largely just because of, I think, our investigation styles. That might be the reason we became friends as well, but we certainly sometimes disagree, and I don't tell John what to say or do, and likewise, he doesn't do that with me. But I was as confident, like, in other words, this is not that high up, right? What are we, 3-4 stories up? It's possible that jumping off of this thing, you might live. It's also possible that you might die. I think falling through the tree would increase your chances of living, but there's no doubt you'd be badly injured, and it's just not something that I need to test. I can anticipate that death is likely if you jump. I don't need to say, well, if I jump and land on my head, if I jump and land on my feet, it's just not something that I need to test. Likewise, I don't need to, for a week, disconnect from this investigation and go wherever he went. I said desert earlier, apparently that was wrong. He didn't tell me where he went. I had suggested desert because of the consistent color of the background and what I understood he was trying to test, but I think the timing was terrible, because what's happened while John has been gone And in his defense, he had anticipated having an internet connection, explained to us last night why that didn't work. But my point is, during his absence, the people who have been trying to disprove what he's been saying, they've been going nuts, and they've been allowed to gain a lot of ground in their social engineering campaign. Now, I have my opinions as to why John did that. I think he was so irritated by my disagreeing with his conclusion that it was muzzle flash in the window that he wanted to prove that he was right, that it was muzzle flash, and that my elimination of it as a possibility due to muzzle flash not being able to, muzzle flash being a 1/500th of a second event, I just said you're not going to have a 1/30th of a second photograph get more than one image of an event that fast. It will be done and gone and no longer able to be photographed by the time you try to take the next frame. And just like jumping off a building, I don't need to test it to know that that's how it works. But I'm happy that John will satisfy his own curiosity. There's definitely things that will be learned from what he did. I can't even anticipate what those might be, but I think he could have done that a month from now, and that we would have been better served to continue on some more important and more valid lines of inquiry where we have stronger evidence, like anything having to do with police videos and sound recorded from police videos, not bullshit from Unsteady Dave. That's why I'm getting annoyed, is that, see, all of these things that are attempting to contradict whatever John is finding, and now this evidence kill. The key thing, I'm not doing this to defend John. I'm actually kind of annoyed that John did all this, and he's tripping over his own feet, allowing these social engineers to do this kind of crap. But again, I don't tell him what to do. He does what he determines to be the best decision at any given time, and this is what he chose to do. So, evidence kill is a very good term that someone sent me in a DM, or perhaps John or I said on the show, and they said, yeah, that's a good term, use that. So I'm adopting it. I don't know if that's the real term for it, but I want to describe it to people so that if you see it, you'll understand it and you'll know. This is like a component of lawfare, okay? So we know, let's look at the evidence for a second, okay? Because this goes back to these videos. We're talking about two different incidents in two different windows at two different times of day, okay? So this is American Glass Research, the building there in Butler, Pennsylvania, where local snipers, they're supposed to be positioned in the second-story window, and we are seeing two events of interest. One of them happens 4 seconds before Trump is shot, and that's not it. It's this. Look at the time there. See how it says 6:11 and 29 seconds. The last digit is video frames. This is a 60 frame per second timeline to match the SMPTE time of day time code as recorded by Right Side Broadcasting. Now let me run that again. The first video we're going to look at happens 4 seconds before. You hear the sound. That's the sound in the lower right-hand corner. I'm showing the police dashboard camera. That is where the sound comes from. The smaller inset frame right above that is the original video frame from this body camera. This is Butler Police body camera footage. And the reason I'm interested in this is because this can and will be authenticated in court by the police, even if the officer who recorded it is dead or for whatever reason cannot testify at some point in the future. This could be wrong. Remember, I'm not an attorney. None of this is legal advice. But as I understand the rules of evidence and the exemptions to hearsay, due to the nature of the way this was recorded and the fact that it's police evidence, even if the person who recorded it were to be dead and unable to raise his right hand in court, I do believe it would be authenticated evidence in court. So that makes it inherently much more important and much more worth our attention than anything from Unsteady Dave, who I think is on his way to getting fired from the gas station for stalking and harassing customers who come in there. It's potentially good and interesting that he got a video of this guy with the red truck wearing an AGR hat. I'm interested in that. But if I owned the gas station and my employees were harassing people coming in there, I'd fire them immediately. So I don't know what's up with Unsteady Dave. Let's watch this clip again. This clip is 4 seconds prior to the first audible shot. It's the officer walking from his car around to the side of American Glass Research where we see 3 windows. He passes the first window. This is a video of him passing the second window at 6:11 and 29 seconds, 4 seconds before the first shot at Trump. And watch how the headlights of the SUV move across the window as the officer walks past. We can see there's 2 headlights. He's walking past, and a distant vehicle with its headlights on is reflecting in the window over there. You don't need to be a scientist to understand that. You've walked by windows and seen the headlights of distant cars reflecting. You understand the phenomenon of motion parallax. What you're seeing in the background of this, that larger frame that's kind of shaking around, that is the side effect of a post-production video effect called stabilization. Remember, the officer is running, so his body camera is shaking all over the place. When you watch it on TV, it's all over the place. But when we do the visual effects process of stabilization, the item of interest, in this case the window, it's held in the center of the frame, and that causes the edges of the frame to move around like that. This is why I've included the 2 video insets on the right. The higher one is the unaffected video frame. The lower one is the audio from the dash cam of the car that this officer was driving. Let's watch it again. So again, this one composite clip is showing us a stabilized enlargement of the window as the officer wearing the body camera runs by, and I've synchronized the audio of this clip to the audio from the dash cam of the car, not by the time on the dash cam, but by the recording of the first shot. The dash cam is synchronized to the time of day by the recording of the first shot. This body cam is synced to the dash cam by the sound of the officer attempting to open the door of his own car. That is visually recorded on his body cam, and the audio is recorded inside the car. So that's how I synchronized those 2 things, and that gave me the audio synchronization for the body cam footage. Again, this is not muzzle flash. This is not an image of a gun being fired. This is an event that is simultaneous or nearly simultaneous with the first shot, as recorded by a microphone on a police car dash cam system in a different location than where this body camera is standing. If there are inaudible shots fired, it's on the opposite side of the building, and it wouldn't reasonably be heard by the microphones in this car. But let's watch it one more time. Background is stabilized, the enlargement is stabilized. The top inset is the unstabilized footage, so that's how much the officer is moving. And the bottom inset, that's the audio. Okay? Now look at the time code. We're still 3 seconds before Trump is shot. Look at that little video inset on the right, the higher one. He's looking at the second window. Can you see that? Now what I want to look at is an incident that I believe could only be an electronic device being used, because we see a light that doesn't explode spontaneously and immediately in a large random looking puff the way muzzle blast would. And it doesn't just exist on screen for the duration of 1 or 2 video frames or a partial video frame the way muzzle blast would. This thing is seen for 6 video frames. It looks to be a stationary and contained dot that to me resembles the dot that would be created by an infrared beam. That starts to take me to some logical, speculative conclusions, like what would an infrared beam be doing firing at or immediately after the moment that Donald Trump is being shot. See, now I'm not moving and the broadcast is getting disrupted. So who's doing that? Who is doing that and how? Is it all these people around here with electronic devices that could do that at any moment? See, I've been doing things. Sitting there too long was not part of it. I got too involved in the story because you see, it's quite easy to track me. And if people think I'm being paranoid, maybe you've missed the video. It's on video. I'm not making it up. See, people are saying it's buffering like crazy. Let's see if I can rescue the broadcast. I hope I caught it in time. Why would it be buffering if I have full 5G signal? This phone has full 5G signal. Is someone using an IMSI catcher or some other technology that I don't know about to disrupt my broadcasts? I don't know. But if it ever buffers, okay, I see myself getting up there, so we've got the broadcast back, it would seem. If it ever buffers, people can always see, even if it disconnects, people will be able to see a director's cut of any interrupted broadcast by becoming a sponsor and going to odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And in fact, I encourage people to do that when the broadcasts are interrupted, because it could be that even when I'm sitting still for moments at a time with a completely strong 5G signal, not stressing the video compressors that send the video through the pipe, arguably using a lower amount of data on a variable data rate stream, I'm sure it's possible that I could just lose the signal, and I can't presume that someone is using technology to thwart me because I have no evidence of that. But if that were happening, becoming a sponsor of the show is a great way to stop it. Something's happening with Batman. Maybe that's of interest. I don't know. So anyway, we were talking about what? I'm quite distracted by that loss of signal. We're talking essentially about the evidence kill, right? See, this is what's happening right now. They don't want to talk about the dot and challenge it directly, because here's the dot. I've left the sound in, but it's lowered because it's not showing a gun going off. It's simultaneous with the first shots. And notice the differences. We see there's still significant motion in the frame, but look at the time. Okay, it's we are now, well, the time has moved off. Watch the time. We're 6:11:33. This is 4 seconds later. Holy crap, that guy just whizzed past on an electric thing going like 30 miles an hour. But this is one dot, stationary in the window. It doesn't move around with motion parallax in the same way that the headlights do. That is only happening because that light is inside the room. And in fact, the absolute lack of motion parallax suggests that it's a transmitter, an infrared light transmitter being pressed right against the glass. And people who use rangefinders know that they can reflect off of windows and not work properly. So if you stand where I'm standing right now and you point a rangefinder at that window, it would hit the glass and parts of it would bounce back. But if you put the rangefinder, let's say the tip of my index finger is the infrared emitter of a rangefinder. If I pressed it against the glass and I'm inside the room, it's going to go out of that glass to the thing I'm trying to measure, and it's much more likely to work. Keep in mind, I'm not saying it did work. I'm just saying it appears that someone was attempting to use it that way. If your argument is rangefinders don't work like that, you're proving my point, because they missed. So that gives us an opportunity to presume that something went wrong. perhaps inaccurate measurement from a rangefinder or failure for it to work contributed to missing. Now, I want people to notice something about how stupid Tim Cook is. Do people see that, or is it too much reflection? Is that the only product that no one is interested in the Apple Store? The 3D headset? Do we see everybody else playing with phones and pads and going upstairs to buy computers and nobody cares about that headset? I don't know. I think Apple's going to turn it to Kodak. Not investment advice. That's another thing I don't know anything about. Anyway, so this evidence kill is when they just won't even mention it. So, you know, Gary and Gray Hughes and whoever it is, and I'm not saying that Gray Hughes is a social engineer. I think these other guys are probably well-meaning. You know, Cullen said one of them is a plumber. I don't know who that other guy is. He was talking to Gary about, he mentioned how he got into it, and it sounded like a legitimate story, or as legitimate as anybody else's story for getting into YouTube. I have no reason to distrust those guys. If I had to guess, I would say that Gary and his friends are the operators, and that those guys are marks. Those guys are targets that he's, you know, trying to co-opt. So, see, the other thing that's interesting is when I look back on some of the tweets that I've posted, we've got like 6 weeks of history on this thing now. And I look at some of the ones that were huge and some of the ones that are not. This goes more to some of the Linda Yaccarino, and is Twitter a limited, is X a limited hangout kind of Trojan horse lying in wait to hit us with another October surprise? I don't know. I think the answer is yes, but I just don't know. Other people might look at the same evidence I use to come to that conclusion. They might think something else. Yeah, it looks like we're still going live here with Odyssey. I love it. Odyssey is so robust now that they have their decentralized, censorship-resistant platform. So anyway, the evidence kill is that they just don't even want to talk about it. They don't even want to acknowledge that you have evidence. And I'm not just talking about Gary and his stupid friends. This is now, I've identified a pattern here, right? This is exactly what Valerie Caproni did on behalf of Adam Sharp and the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences when George Webb's mentally ill, wife-swapping, paperclip Nazi brother invented a false corporate entity that was used to deceive me and the court into allowing a lawsuit to move forward where I was not allowed to defend myself pro se. In that case, I identified that an email sent on July 28th to the Television Academy, allegedly through some web portal. I see evidence that might be a lie. I allege that email was sent by George's brother with the specific intent of provoking this lawsuit. It's very similar to the way these guys operate. Like, I've spoken a lot about Felix Sater. Is that a demon? Felix Sater was the real estate developer behind Trump Tower Moscow. And see, we've got all these emails from Felix Sater to Michael Cohen saying, oh, we need to get Trump to Moscow sometime in 2016 or 15, whenever he's sending this email, to do a media event to promote Trump Tower Moscow. Now, maybe that's a completely legitimate real estate deal and media event around a celebrity real estate developer, or maybe that's a precursor to get Trump to Moscow so we can get some surveillance video of him walking into a hotel that will be juxtaposed with fake testimony from a hooker later to say that there's some urination going on. But now we just don't have this key piece of evidence. See, that's a different thing. That's a setup to get a key piece of evidence. But anyway, the evidence kill is like this email that David, or George's brother, this email that was sent. And I could mention him. This is public events, lawsuits, historic events that I'm speaking about. But the email that was sent, I figured out that the only logical person to have sent it was George's brother. and it was obviously being sent at times, and complaints were being delayed until specific times for an ulterior purpose. And I laid it out with a lot of evidence. And instead of saying, okay, let's explore all this evidence and find stronger evidence that proves that what Jason's saying is wrong, they didn't say that. They just said, you know, this is confidential, this email, because it's Television Academy members and we need to protect their confidentiality. So I said, fine, reveal the identity of the email owner in camera, meaning in the judge's chambers, only for the judge, and in this case, Lyndon Johnson. And she refused. Why? How would it endanger the privacy of this email sender if a U.S. District Court judge in the Southern District of New York knew the person's identity? It wouldn't. It would serve justice, because if I was wrong, she could say, Jason, you're an idiot. The email was sent by Lucille Ball or Carol Burnett or whoever on earth sent it. But they didn't let me look at that evidence because they knew that was the key evidence that would prove my case and unravel their whole entire mysterious bullshit. I allege we're dealing with that right here, because I'm not just talking about an electronic light in a window for 1/5 of a second, and then people were saying, no, it's not glued to the window because it moves a little bit. And it's like, hey, what I'm saying is a human is holding it. By glued, I mean someone's pressing it with their hand. So yes, there is a measurable amount of movement, maybe particularly at the end, but compared to walking past headlights that are 100 feet away that have a tremendous amount of movement from motion parallax, this thing is virtually stationary, and the squiggle that we see at the end is probably the person hits the button, and just the very action of their finger hitting it, snipers out there are going to know. There's a word for this that's finger shake or whatever. That's not the word, but you know what I'm saying. The very action of a human finger touching something like that for a momentary event disrupts it slightly. So I have a lot of, I think, measurable, repeatable, very well explained evidence, scientifically measurable evidence in a video coming from the police, which is also itself evidence. And if people say, oh, the police messed with it, fantastic, great, let's go to court and talk about that, because if that's the case, then there's something wrong with the police. But if you spend a month and a half looking at Unsteady Dave's nonsense, and then you get to court and they say, hey, Dave messed with this, you're the idiot in that equation. That's all I'm saying. So until Unsteady Dave gives us the original, not us, I don't want it. I no longer want it. It's important for people to understand. This isn't some psychological game I'm trying to play with the guy to get some social media advantage and have exclusive access to some piece of information. I am suggesting that he release it through Tom Fitton's Judicial Watch, not because I love Tom Fitton or Judicial Watch, I got issues with that to some extent, but because it's a public and known thing that is impartial. And if they post it on their Dropbox and host it there, we all know. We have a known quantity that we're looking at, and instead of every time I see a body camera video, it's somebody's different screen capture from a different phone or a different laptop from a different video that they downloaded from the Butler Eagle, putting together some sort of compilation of sound from here and video from there. And what do you think about the Trump assassination attempt? Not interested. Well, you're looking at me and smiling like you wanted to talk. That person was from out of town. Anyway, oh, look, bricks. Yeah. So the point is, I was just trying to say, if the guy won't release the original camera file to a known... Oh, wow, wait. Is this another target here? How many friggin' targets do we need? Maybe that's just dots. Totally lost my train of thought. So anyway, right, they don't want to talk about this evidence because once they start, the reason they don't want to talk about it, I suggest, is because they know it's true and it's going to dismantle the case. Right, it's not just a matter of this person operating an electronic device in the room. We've got Greg Nickel walking out of the building less than 2 minutes later. So, I mean, this is a lot, and that's on police dash cam. I don't need any Unsteady Dave footage. We need to ask Greg Nickel what was happening inside the building at 6:11 and 33 seconds. And then the other incredibly weird thing is, someone has appeared on YouTube named Greg Nichols. Possible, common name. We had Larry Nichols. But anyway, that guy has done some extremely sophisticated crack thump thing that purports to even like check it. Oh, were we just walking on 17th Street and I didn't even realize it? Well, we walked past Twitter yesterday, but you know, all of this is like sinister Twitter stuff. But this dude, Greg Nichols, I'm sure that's normal coincidence. He had some sort of like, I don't know, checking the math or something. Again, I'm not able to challenge people who are making statements about math. I'm not trying to say where the bullets were fired, but the evidence kill is when they just pretend you're not even talking about it. They won't even engage on the topic. And you know who else tried an evidence kill? 10th Precinct douchebag, Smoothie King Chandler Castro, NYPD officer, who when I went back to the 10th Precinct after getting choked over here on November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, something like that, I have it written down and on video, I went over there to show him the photo of my neck with red finger marks on it as evidence that I had been choked, because they had said, no, you didn't get choked. And it was difficult to get him to the door because he's an irresponsible asshole, not a law enforcement officer. He is a punk kid who himself should be in jail. But anyway, I eventually got him outside and engaged him in conversation, and I was literally showing him the photo on the phone, like, you know, right screen in his face. And like a baby trying to avoid eating broccoli or something, he was turning his face away. And he said, there is no evidence, there was no assault, get out of here or we're gonna call Bellevue and have you locked up for being crazy, essentially. So that's an evidence kill. They don't want to even get into the fact that there's evidence that I was choked, because then they're gonna have to start talking about why they didn't give that guy a summons for assault and instead they gave me a summons for disorderly conduct. Then they're gonna have to get into why Elon Musk's bodyguards are allowed to be there with concealed carry weapons when nobody in New York is allowed to do that. And then they're gonna have to answer what the hell is going on between Twitter, the FBI, the NYPD, Nassau County PD, Linda Yaccarino's father, Linda Yaccarino, Adam Sharp, the Emmys, Valerie Caproni, more bullshit at the FBI, James Baker, Elon Musk. So you see what I'm saying? I realize this all sounds so complicated and interconnected, so I guess it must be a conspiracy theory. But the problem is I didn't tell any of these people to do any of this stuff, and yet they did it, so it must be their conspiracy theory. This guy is dangerous with how he's driving. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing John's results. But I mean, I'm disappointed that he got so dug in on like proving me wrong or proving himself right, and that he spent all this time doing something that really could have been tested at any time in the future. And it seems like people who want to discredit him with nonsense have gained a foothold in that time. I saw a comment from, I'm forgetting exactly who made it right now, but it's somebody who frequently has good comments, said he feels like we've lost momentum. Well, you know, I don't know if I can disagree with that completely, but I'm not not interested in competing from the standpoint of, ratings for a show. I have a very specific thing that I would like to have happen, and that is I would like to raise evidence that can be brought to the attention of whoever it is that's going to do something about this, and I hope that that will be Donald Trump when he becomes president. I think joining up with Robert Kennedy seems like an incredibly good strategic move, and so I think there is a chance. I know there's a whole contingent of people who like to remind me that nothing ever happens, but that's like saying, everybody's going to die, so why bother waking up in the morning? I'm hopeful that something that's never happened before is going to happen, and so I'm not just interested in creating a cool and interesting YouTube or Odyssey show where I'm always right. I don't have to be right. There's a lot of people who told me a lot of details about what I've been looking at in this window that were initially wrong, that helped me refine this hypothesis. And by the way, even if it's not a tracking point precision rifle system and the remote spotter in that room operating a rangefinder, which is just my speculation, the only thing I can confidently state based on irrefutable evidence that nobody has even had the courage to challenge, or it's not even courage, no one's even had the information to challenge, I'm confident that's an electronic light in the window. The question becomes who's operating it and for what purpose. Greg Nichols walks out of that building less than 2 minutes later. That's the number one guy I would ask. Who was operating this? And what is it? We have all this conversation about a rangefinder on the shooter from the first day. To me, that reeks of possibly being connected to this electronic dot and something about the plan going wrong. We know something about the plan went wrong because obviously it was calculated to kill Trump and that failed. So other things might have gone wrong that caused that to happen, and perhaps the rangefinder or a component of a rangefinder set being seen by someone was something that went wrong and it was being explained away on the fly by dropping it on the shooter. I really don't care about his remote control, his van, all of that is FBI red herring crap. The only thing I'm interested in is what was going on at 6:11 and 33 seconds, and I've known from the first second we saw that logo that something screwy is going on with American Glass Research. I've felt that. That was a hunch. I need to be more clear in my language when I'm speaking about scientifically arrived at conclusions that can be repeated and measured, and hunches based on looking at logos that look weird to me. Look, I guess Taco Bell is no longer in danger of collapsing. Remember, the facade of this building fell onto the street not long ago, and there's been a whole, they just took it away. Nice, that's progress. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, we'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern with Charles. Become a sponsor on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Watch out for these evidence kills. It's what they do when you've got evidence that you're looking at it and it appears irrefutable. Same thing that they're trying to do with ECF number 12 in Michigan. They will not address the evidence because the evidence is too strong. So they just pretend it doesn't exist, won't even talk about it or acknowledge it, and that is the evidence kill. It's a tradecraft tactic. It's a component of lawfare, which is itself a 21st century method of war. That's what Charles Dunlap Jr. said. He's the Air Force Major General who codified lawfare. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see everybody tonight at 8 o'clock with Charles Ortel.
Jason Goodman?
Yeah, how you doing?
Big fan, man.
Panavision, Paris.
Wow, it's crazy seeing you here, dude.
Good to meet you, man. Thanks for
Big
stopping
fan
to
of the
say
show.
hello. Do you have an Instagram or something you want to tell people
I
about?
don't have an Instagram, but I watch Jason and keep watching Jason, man, and stay tuned with the show.
Thanks, dude. Good to see you.
Awesome to see you.
Take care. There you go. Nice person.